The evening came softly to the green folds of the Carpathian hills, as if it were a warm shawl laid over the shoulders of the forest. High above, the last light rested on the tops of the firs, turning their needles a deep blue-green, while lower down, among the moss and ferns, a pale mist began to gather. It slipped between roots and stones, curled around fallen branches, and drifted toward a small spring hidden beneath an old beech tree. The spring was no wider than a wooden bowl, yet it was clear and deep, lined with smooth pebbles the color of honey, smoke, and moonlit milk. Water rose from the earth without haste, making tiny circles that spread and faded, spread and faded. Around it grew soft grasses, bluebells bending their heads, and a cluster of wild mint that filled the air with a cool, sleepy sweetness. Beside this spring sat a Mavka named Irina. Her hair was the pale gold of dry summer grass, though in the mist it seemed almost silver. She wore a dress woven from green shadows and the faint shine of dew. Her bare feet rested on moss, and her hands lay quietly in her lap. Irina did not speak. She hummed. It was a small song, hardly more than a breath. It moved like water over stone, like wind through young leaves, like a mother's hand smoothing a blanket. The spring listened. The mint listened. Even the mist seemed to pause and lean closer. From the hollow of a nearby oak, a tiny forest spirit with eyebrows like curled leaves opened one eye. His name was Hritsko, and he spent most evenings counting acorns, though he never remembered the number by morning. He heard Irina's hum and forgot to count at all. Slowly he climbed down the bark and settled on a root, wrapping his little brown coat around him. "Is it a new song?" he asked in a whisper. Irina smiled without stopping the melody. After a while, she answered, "It is an old song with a new path." Hritsko nodded, as though he understood perfectly. Perhaps he did. The mist thickened, gentle and white, and the forest grew quieter. A hare came to drink from the spring, placing each paw as carefully as if walking across a dream. Then came a hedgehog, round and thoughtful, carrying 3 dry leaves on his back by accident. A nightbird settled above them, folding its wings. None of them hurried. None of them feared the Mavka's song, for Irina sang only to keep the forest calm while the day found its way into night. Beyond the beech tree, a narrow path wound down from a shepherd's meadow. Along it came a boy named Levko, leading a small gray goat with a bell tied in blue thread. The bell did not ring loudly. It only gave a soft little clink now and then, like a spoon touching a cup. Levko had been gathering time for his grandmother and had wandered farther than he meant to. When he saw the mist and the spring, he stopped. Irina's hum floated toward him. Levko did not feel startled. He felt as if he had remembered something from before he was born. The sound of rain on a roof, the smell of warm bread, the hush of someone sitting near while he slept. The goat lowered her head to the grass, content. "Good evening," Levko said quietly. Irina looked at him with eyes the color of shaded leaves. "Good evening, little walker of the hill." "I lost the tern," he said. "The tern is not lost," said Irina. "It is resting under the mist." Levko considered this, then sat on a stone near the spring. He was not tired in the way one feels after running, but in the way one feels after a long, golden day. He listened. Irina hummed, and the spring answered with its soft bubbling. Together, they made a song that seemed to draw silver threads through the air. After a time, the mist opened a little. Between 2 firs, Levko saw the path, clear as a ribbon, leading back toward the meadow. A glow waited beyond it, not bright, but warm, the lantern his grandmother had hung outside their cottage door. "There it is," he murmured. Orina nodded. "Paths like to be found gently." Levko stood and bowed, because his grandmother had taught him that every quiet wonder deserved thanks. The goat gave one delicate clink of her bell, as if she agreed. Before they left, Levko placed a sprig of thyme beside the spring. Its tiny purple flowers rested against the moss. "For your song," he said. Orina touched the thyme with one finger. "For your listening," she replied. Then Levko and the goat followed the path home, step by slow step, until the mist folded behind them and their shapes became part of the blue evening. At the spring, Hritsko yawned and curled into the oak root. The hare tucked its paws beneath itself. The hedgehog finally noticed the leaves on his back, but decided they were comfortable and kept them there. Above, the first stars appeared between the branches, small and patient. Orina began to hum again, even softer now. Her song drifted over the spring, over the moss, over the sleeping seeds beneath the soil. It slipped into fern curls and beech bark, into the dreams of birds and the quiet hearts of stones. The water rose and circled. The mist breathed in and out. And all through the forest, nothing needed to hurry. The night had arrived kindly, and the Mavka's song kept it gentle until the moon climbed high and silver over the trees. When the moon had climbed high enough to touch the topmost leaves, the forest changed its color. The greens became silver green. The browns became soft as old bread crust, and every blade of grass held a little pale shine along its edge. Orina sat beside the spring with her feet just above the water, not dipping in, only feeling the cool breath that rose from it. Her humming thinned until it was almost the same as the sound of the spring itself. A note, a pause, a ripple. A note, a pause, a sigh of leaves. The forest listened without leaning forward, the way a sleeping child listens to a lullaby from another room. From beyond the hazels came a slow, careful rustle. Orina did not turn at once. She knew the tread of fox, deer, badger, and wandering human. This one was none of those. It was broad and gentle, like someone brushing dew aside with an old cloak. A tall shape stepped into the moonlit clearing. It was the Lisovik, the old forest keeper. His beard was woven with lichen. His coat looked like shadow under pine boughs. And on one shoulder, a brown owl sat half asleep, blinking with great golden eyes. He carried no staff tonight. Instead, he held a small bundle of fallen twigs gathered neatly in his arms. "Orina," he murmured, and his voice was deep and quiet, like earth under roots. "Grandfather of paths," she answered, smiling. The Lisovik set the twigs down near the oak, where the wood mice could use them for roofs and thresholds. Then he lowered himself onto a stone with a softness surprising for one so large. The owl tucked its head beneath a wing. "Your song has mended the fog," said the Lisovik. "It was wandering in uneven threads over the low valley. Now it lies smooth." Orina looked toward the hollow where the mist gathered between the trees. It did seem smoother, spread like a woolen shawl laid over sleeping shoulders. "It only needed a little humming," she said. "Most things do," the Lisovik replied. For a while they sat together without speaking. The spring made its round little sound. Somewhere far off, a nightjar called once, then decided the night was too peaceful for calling and fell silent again. After some time, the water in the spring gave a faint glow, as if it remembered stars it had seen long ago. Orina leaned closer. On the surface, among the moon's trembling pieces, floated the reflection of a mountain meadow, not the clearing where she sat, but one far away in the Carpathians, above the dark firs, where wind moved through grasses and little white flowers nodded in their sleep. The Lisovik noticed her looking. "The spring is dreaming uphill tonight," he said. In the dream reflection, a small light moved among the meadow flowers. It was not fire, not candle, not lantern. It was the glow of a potercha, one of the little lost lights that sometimes drifted near streams and old paths. This one moved slowly, without fear, bobbing as gently as a dandelion seed. Orina's humming changed by only a thread. She gave the melody a warmer middle, soft and round, like milk stirred with honey. The little light paused in the water's reflection. Though it was far away and only seen in the spring's dream, it seemed to hear her. It rested above a patch of thyme, dimmed, brightened once, and then settled low among the grasses, as if finding a place to sleep. The Lisovik's heavy eyelids lowered in kindness. "Good," he whispered. "Even far songs can be pillows." Orina kept the warm note for a little while longer, until the meadow in the spring faded back into simple water and the moon returned to its silver trembling. Then she let the tune loosen again into the sound of moss and fern. A breeze wandered down the path Levko had taken. It carried the faint scent of a cottage, warm clay stove, drying apples, clean linen, and a little smoke from the evening fire. Orina smiled, for she could almost see the boy asleep under a woven blanket, one hand open on the pillow as if still holding the memory of the time. Near the oak root, Hritsko the frog turned in his sleep and gave a tiny bubble of a croak. The hare's ears twitched. The hedgehog, wrapped in his leafy blanket, breathed in and out as steadily as a small bellows. The Lisovik rose at last. The owl on his shoulder opened one eye, then the other, and looked around as if surprised the world had remained so calm. "I must walk the northern edge," said the old keeper. "A young fir is worried about the frost." "Tell it the mist will stay close," said Orina. "I will." He stepped away between the trees, and wherever his feet passed, fallen leaves settled more comfortably into the earth. Soon he was only a darker shadow among shadows, and then not even that. Orina remained beside the spring. Above her, the stars grew clearer. Around her, the mist curled low and soft, filling the hollows, silvering the roots, wrapping the clearing without closing it in. She lifted her face to the moon and hummed once more, not to call anyone, not to answer anything, but simply to keep company with the night. The spring replied in its own small voice. Drop by drop, ripple by ripple, it carried the song under stones, around roots, and down into the quiet places where seeds slept and dreamed of morning. Far below the clearing, the spring slipped into a narrow thread of water and wandered through moss and fern. It knew the way without seeing it. It had taken that path since before the oldest beech had opened its first leaf, and it went patiently, quietly, as all small waters do. Orina listened to it for a long while. The Mavka sat with her knees drawn close, her pale hair falling over her shoulders like moonlit flax. A little mist had gathered on the tips of it, making each strand shine. She did not brush it away. The night had gentle hands, and she let it touch her. From somewhere beyond the hazel bushes came the soft pad of feet, not heavy, not hurried. A young deer stepped into the silver edge of the clearing. Its dark eyes reflected the stars, and its nose trembled as it tasted the cool air. It saw Orina and did not flee. In this forest, All gentle creatures knew her humming. "Good evening, small wanderer," she whispered. The deer lowered its head to the spring. Its drinking made the faintest sound, like a kiss on glass. When it had finished, it stood still, listening. Orina began a new tune, quieter than the last. It was a lullaby she had learned from the wind among reeds, and from grandmothers who sang by warm stoves while snow leaned against the window panes. There were no words in it, only the shape of comfort. It rose and fell slowly, as if rocking in a cradle made of branches. The deer blinked, its long lashes lowered. After a time, it folded its legs beneath itself and rested near the roots of an old oak. The oak, who had seen many summers and many moons, gave a deep, wooden sigh. One brown leaf, tired from holding on, let go and drifted down. It landed beside Orina's hand. She picked it up and turned it gently between her fingers. The veins of the leaf were like tiny roads, all leading back to the stem, all leading home. Orina smiled. "Sleep well," she said to the leaf, and placed it on the moss. The mist thickened a little, but not enough to hide the world. It only softened the edges. The stones around the spring became rounded and pale. The trunks of trees seemed to stand farther away, like quiet guardians at the border of a dream. Then, from the dark hollow beneath a fallen pine, a very small glow appeared. It was no brighter than the last ember in a hearth. It bobbed once, then twice. Orina looked toward it and waited. A Paterka child drifted into view, no larger than a bundle of linen, wrapped in a shimmer of soft blue light. Its face was gentle and drowsy, and in its arms it carried a seed cap, as though it were a cup. "Are you lost?" Orina asked. The little one shook its head. "Thirsty?" It nodded. Orina leaned toward the spring, cupped both hands, and lifted the cold, clear water. The Paterka child came close, sipped from the edge of her palm, and gave a tiny sigh that sounded like a reed pipe far away. "There," said Orina. "Now the night will feel warmer." The little glow brightened, not sharply, but as a candle brightens when protected from a draft. It settled beneath a fern, curling into itself. Soon it looked like nothing more than a bluebell dreaming of dawn. Orina hummed again, and this time the song was barely more than breath. The spring listened. The deer slept. The hedgehog slept. Even the owl, wherever it had gone with the Lisovic, seemed to send back a slow, feathered silence. Above the clearing, the moon moved westward. Its light touched the spring, then the oak, then Orina's cheek. She felt the hour growing deep and tender, the hour when all worries become small and far away, like villages seen from a mountain path. At last, Orina lay down on the moss beside the water. The earth was cool beneath her, but kindly so. Ferns leaned over her like green blankets. The spring kept murmuring, never stopping, never rushing. She closed her eyes. Her final hum faded into the mist, and the mist carried it between the trees, over roots, under sleeping nests, past the warm chimneys of distant huts, and into the wide, starlit valley. There it rested softly on the roofs, on the fields, on the folded hands of those asleep. And in the forest clearing, beside the clear spring, everything was quiet, and everything was held.